We are glad you're watching Morning Express. It is time for the newsroom. Remember, you can be part of this conversation. Tweet us, use the hashtag KTN Newsroom, and we'll look at your tweets as they come through. Of course, joining us in studio this morning, Patrick Gadara, Martin Mutua, Clay Muganda, panelists who say it as they see it. And this morning we'll begin, of course, gentlemen. Good morning to you all, and thank you for coming.
Oh, yes. It's very cold.
I know, it is so cold. I was telling James, the gentleman thing would be for him to remove the jacket and give it to me. Saying that I'm praising over here.
That proves one thing.
He's not a gentleman. Yeah. So who's going to be the gentleman there now?
You see, I don't have a jacket.
We don't want to create a scandal.
Let's not cross this bridge.
Well, let's go to the important issues. And security is still a big concern. We are seeing the Speaker has approved that motion to go through in as far as censuring Olelenku is concerned. So the leadership continues to be in the spotlight. But this as more killings continue. Wajir is an issue of concern. Mpeketoni, more killings in Lamu County. We are still seeing that. Have we been able to tell of the story that the government in saying that there perhaps were political, undertones to this? Have we been able to probe that and also look at Alshabaab and how they operate in all of these killings, Martin?
Well, we have portrayed the story as supposed to be. The first time we did was to present the picture that the entire security team had landed in Lamu and our good friend Olelenku had taken charge. And he actually took charge. As you can see, more killings are taking place. So it beats logic. Why do we handle security in so casual manner as we are doing? Something is extremely wrong with our security system. We cannot be talking about security day in, day out. Security is the backbone of our economy. It is the one that drives the economy. If the country is not secure, forget about all this talk about development and economic growth and all that. We are going nowhere. So it is something that the Jubilee government must take seriously. And for me, I think it beats logic that things are happening like this and the top leadership is not responding. It's wrong that, like we said last time, I think I made a statement here last week that the statement that the president had made was a mistake. You can see now what has happened in Wajir. He has not come out in the full force. He has given his opponents a chance to hang him because they believe he took Mpeketoni more seriously than he's taking the other parts seriously. So that puts him in a bad situation in terms of him being the commander-in-chief. So for me, I think it's time for him to leave State House. He should not do boardroom stuff.
Are you suggesting leave State House?
Clarify.
No, go home.
Yes.
Who can do better than that?
Travel to...
For him, when these things are happening,
take charge.
For me, if you asked me, if he had the things that he's discussing with the people, with the leaders in Wajir, he could have told them on the ground. Actually, if intelligence was good with him, he would know who are the leaders who are inciting people. Go on the ground, rebuke them from there, take charge from there.
We're making an assumption here that there's intelligence and we know this thing, but
on what Martin has just said, you remember when Mpeketoni happened, President had initially said he would go, then cited security reasons for not going. Now, if the President himself is afraid to go there, then we have to be worried. There are two things I think that also concern me. The second one is when he said he's calling for national prayers for insecurity. You know, it seems to me government has little idea about how to tackle this. But coming to your question about the press, I think one of my enduring beefs with the press is they don't tell the full story. We've got a failure across the board of security. You know, it's not just about Alshabaab, and look at what's happening, as he mentioned, in Wajir. You know, this is not necessarily Alshabaab. Nobody has linked it to them, but there is no security there. And if you look into it and you ask why is it that our security forces are so poorly, have such low capacity to respond to this incident, it goes back to a long litany of government underfunding them, people stealing off the money that's supposed to fund security. Yeah, most recent example in Anglo-Leasing. All these were security related, and we are paying the price for not investing in security before. And I think for our media, you should really be digging deeper into this. When you see the Swiss ambassador the other day sitting with Mugai, saying now we are asking for Kenya's cooperation. Go back to 2012, when they said, well, we've handed over all documentation with regard to these cases. How come nothing was done? They say they froze accounts, which I believe are still frozen in Switzerland. We haven't endeavored to get that 13 billion shillings that they froze over there to bring it back. So there is a history to the insecurity, and there are reasons why we have insecurity, but I don't think our press has done a good enough job of actually articulating them.
The issues, claim?
I think...
Socialite 3.
What?
You're Socialite 3.
I think actually what's happening is, okay, for this Mpeketoni, the Mpeketoni issue, I think the media did a wonderful job. Yes, I would want to agree with Gadara that going back, we've not probably covered the whole thing and given a litany of all those failures. But I think we've been giving them maybe piecemeal, or maybe, based on every incident. But I think the Mpeketoni issue, it was covered, and Mr. Kenyatta was actually told that the speech he made was very unfortunate.
Yeah, true, but it's all event-based coverage. You're just covering what's happening here.
Event report is what I just hang on.
As in, you cover Mpeketoni, 60 people dead.
That's it.
Then you'll cover Wajir. But the linkages between this and what's actually causing why our security agencies cannot respond or are unable to are the things that are not being said.
You see some of these things.
What are the weaknesses we actually have?
Those institutional failures. But also, sometimes you have to understand that what's happening is that the security agencies, some of them actually, it's just like they're demoralized. It's also personal reasons, because like Mpeketoni, there are these people who were actually informed earlier. Then they said, like, okay, fine, we are also human beings. We'll go there. We don't have enough ammunition. These guys are outgunning us. You see, so the press has done. Not exactly as to Gadara's standards.
I beg to disagree. If you watched Ian Wafula last night, did you watch news? Ian Wafula is on the ground. He gave us a story on even interview the people why they think what is happening on the ground. So you can't fault us, honestly, Gadara.
Let's widen the scope and let's talk about Mpeketoni for a few short moments before the ball of Sophia's quite elaborate English. few short moments.
James.
Here's the point. We said that there's one person who has been arrested after Mpeketoni.
Yes.
One person who had been arrested, who the next day we reported that this one person had led the police to where other people were, who had been killed. Turns out this one person was a driver who was hijacked. He's actually an innocent fellow.
Yes.
Who's in custody today, one of the people who's been charged. But that's not it. There was KDF said that they had killed 5 people in some forest. The next day, IG Kimao said he had gone there to personally check the fingerprints and identification of these fellows.
In addition, they misled the president when he was making that speech, and they said that they had got somebody who had been using the Alshabaab Twitter
Ishmael
account.
Omondi.
And that guy was made to be the link, like he was the one who is messing things up. The chap was arrested, he was released.
We have no idea. We've never seen this guy.
He was told never to talk, to disappear.
Yes.
So
he's faceless. He does not exist in Majengo. He's probably in Majengo in the US. Just help me understand this madness of confusion and just the clarity or not clarity. in this situation?
Actually, okay, as I mentioned last week, I think right now what's happening is that it's government agencies which are probably inciting people because they tend to blame other people which we don't know, and instead of helping the situation, they're actually making the situation worse. Because like Wajir, I mean, it's taken so long, just leave alone Wajir, Mpeketoni, the other day we were told that yes, we are in charge, we fired people and all that. But immediately that morning, I mean, more people, there were more deaths, you see. And I think by accusing the press so much, or the media, we are probably abdicating the role of the intelligence agencies to the media, because it is the intelligence, the security agencies which are actually supposed to take charge of all this. You see, the most we can do is actually point out, and there is nobody who's been put on the spot more than the cabinet secretary for insecurity, let me call it that. Because one thing I don't understand is why Olelenku believes that anytime there's a security lapse, somebody has to be fired. But when people tell him that you should be fired, he's mad. He gets mad. If actually firing is a solution, then he should be fired. He should have agreed, like, okay, fine, I fire those people because they failed. I should be fired. How come he doesn't want to start with himself? That is a question we should be asking.
In civilized world, when you have such kind of magnitude in terms of failures in a particular department, you find the people responsible take the blame and they resign and let somebody else do it. But if they don't, then those who appointed them must move them and give them something else. So if Uhuru Kenyatta really loves Olelenku so much, he can give him something else to do. He can, if he really is so much endeared to him, he can give him another docket or somewhere else so that he can do something else. He has been told by everybody, the religious leaders, the civil society, everybody. But this
even his own members in Jubilee,
even his own Jubilee members, even the Senate members. I saw Murkomen the other day, even we played a clip last night, telling him the security apparatus must be shaken.
Although on the show here he said something is going to happen. He can
say something, but on the floor of the house.
On the floor of the house, he's saying,
he said something is going to happen soon. The president will do something soon.
So how many people must die so that the president
that's the question. And secondly, where does the buck stop? You know, with Olelenku, my father, with the president. You know, himself. When you said president should leave State House, I mean, I think he should really be considering his position if he cannot secure the country. No, seriously.
What he really should consider in terms of leaving for...
You know, because
just
taking it to another
level. One of the cardinal reasons we have government is to provide security. And it is his administration. And if he's not going to do anything about it, then, well, perhaps he leaves and let somebody else who can. The second thing...
No. It has not gotten there yet.
The second thing is this. Last week, I spoke about the need to have a proper inquiry into why we have security failures. You know, President promised this after Westgate. You know, till today, I think it's only Musalia Mudavadi who's been calling for it, which means even our friends in CORD have no clue about what should be done. You know, I think have a proper, comprehensive and independent and public inquiry into the security failures, into all the attacks since at least going back to 2011. You know, identify what your security failures are, then solve them. This idea that we just
I think you're making a serious assumption here that there's someone really who wants this thing to work, which is my biggest problem here.
Then, Smart, we could look at it this way. Since the president and his team have refused to listen to Kenyans in terms of shaking the security team, and since even with all these problems that have happened, nobody has been arrested, nothing has been done, then we can conclude maybe the state is happy with what is happening, and they could be the ones engineering it. That's the only other positive assumption. You cannot have any other. Maybe the state is the one doing this and is happy that this is happening, and so Kenyans must understand this is their style of leadership.
Do it to what end, Martin? That's a very strong statement to make.
You have not arrested anybody. People have been massacred to the tune of even 100 people. Nobody has been arrested for that crime. You have not made anything to show Kenyans that they can have confidence in
so
their
what
security.
would be motivating the state to sabotage itself and paint itself in the light it has now on its lowest point since
they know better.
Office?
Probably they know better.
But I think
they know
it's
what
failure.
they're playing
I mean,
up
I wouldn't go perhaps so far as to the state is actually committing this. It might be, but I won't go there. I think what we are facing is failure. This is a state, a mechanism, a security institutions that have failed. And what we should be asking is, why are they failing? And this is the question that if we were serious about finding out the reasons, if we're looking at how security is funded, if we're asking why it is the First Lady gets more money than the ATPU, if those were the questions that our media actually asked, then we would actually start getting somewhere. But for as long as we're just focused on this incident happened, that incident happened, and all we report is the incidents and not the reasons for these incidents, not the reasons for the failures, then to that extent, I think the media is failing the Kenyan people.
I think, in defense of the media, I think the media is overwhelmed. There are far too many mistakes these guys are making. So
there's a traffic jam of mistakes.
There's actually an outbreak. It's a plethora of mistakes. That actually, before we finish covering one, these questions have been asked. These questions have been asked in the media, either not necessarily by reporters or people in the newsroom, but actually even by columnists. All these questions have been asked. But you see, even before these guys can provide an answer, even before we can actually internalize the answer and process it, whatever answer that we're getting, there's another mistake. So these guys keep sleeping. I think there's another columnist who wrote that the government, if they're walking on a nice lane and they see a banana peel on the other side, they'll cross and go and sleep on it. So there are far too many mistakes. We can't cover all of them. We really try to analyze all and actually ask all these questions. But I think even also the government is probably also overwhelmed by its own, by the way it is fumbling. I mean, it's also overwhelmed because you cannot understand when they say, like, we kill 5 people, then you ask, okay, fine, where are the bodies? Then they actually say, like, okay, that place was so much, it was right in the middle of a forest, but they actually bring a gun. How did they land there and get the gun if they could not get the bodies? You see? Yeah. So don't you see, like, actually something like that? And these things get reported. They get reported. It's only that sometimes they don't know. It's after they've made the mistake that's when they realize, like, oh, we should not have done that. Because if they're saying this,
but we report. My question, when we're still reporting it, we don't report with a question mark.
I think we've asked enough questions. Okay, fine. We need to keep on asking questions.
We should not get tired of asking these questions, Martin.
But you see, the problem is we ask questions, but the needs are too many. The mistakes are just too many.
Because Clay, if we tire in asking questions, it means we will have given up.
Yeah,
so we cannot stop.
We cannot stop asking questions. But the thing is, we keep on asking questions. But even before they can actually start answering them, they make more mistakes. So we just keep on asking questions. I mean, there are far too many questions that people are asking now.
Well, because the alternative of that is trying to tell Kenyans, actually everything is fine.
No,
because that's the alternative. We can never get out of us questions. Martin, make your point.
That's why I'm very worried. I mean, it's time that the leadership of this country listens to its people. That's why I fault, you might love or hate the former President Moi, but he would always listen. When he was very sensitive to the needs of the people, he could have had his own weaknesses and mistakes. But when issues of matters to do with security, you would never fault the former President Moi. When something happens, he will always be there. The leadership the people would always feel him. The people of this country are not feeling this leadership. And they have been told even by their own people who are in government that the people on the ground are not feeling you. So what else are we supposed to do? We will continue telling them they're not being felt. And if maybe they are working themselves very hard out of leadership. We don't know. Maybe that is their agenda. We will not know.
We're going to.
I think that's what you just said. I think it points to what the problem is, especially the coverage. A lot of the problems you're suffering now in security were bred during Moi's time and during Kenyatta's time. Kenyatta 1. And the fact is, because things like Anglo-leasing came up during Moi's time, this corruption that's making sure guys can come through our borders unchecked, remember when they bought Mahindra vehicles for police that broke down after a short while.
I agree.
And stuff. All this was generated during the previous administrations. And in a sense, I suppose you could say the current Kenyatta inherited a pretty bad situation. I don't think he's done anything to resolve it, which is a big failure on his part. But all the guys who came before him, also bear quite a lot of blame for what we are suffering today. And unless we can, again, go back and see where the mistakes were, where it is as...
So should we start, by asking questions to the Moi regime,
started
the
beating
Kenyatta
us,
regime?
Once we know that, then we can do something about it.
So paint a full picture from back then as to where this is coming.
These are systemic problems. They are not just... today they didn't turn out. There are reasons why.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying, that's why I said he could have had his own failures and weaknesses. But I said, people are not being slaughtered like chicken. It's only that there could have been corruption. Guys were eating and left, right, and center, yes. But guys were not being slaughtered left, right, and center.
Well, they're being slaughtered now because of the corruption.
All right, we're going to take a short break on that note, and perhaps on the return talk also about hate speech. When we come back, we've seen James hate speeching me right now.
No. This is a hate action. Take a short break.
So we're going to be back.